They went out for dinner, a young couple, 2 months into something real. By Sunday morning, he was dead on railroad tracks. She was still alive, and no one knew where she was. January 6th, 2007, Knoxville, Tennessee. And what happened over the next 72 hours would become one of the most disturbing cases in the state's history and expose a justice system that almost let everyone walk free. Chris Newsom was 23. Carpenter, played baseball, kept to himself, the kind of guy everyone in the neighborhood knew by name. Channon Christian was 21, senior year at the University of Tennessee, sociology major, graduation just a few months away. They'd been together about 2 months, still in that phase where everything feels new. That Saturday, they had dinner at a restaurant in Knoxville. After that, a friend's place to watch movies. Channon called her mother around midnight. Everything was fine. She said they were on their way. That was the last call. What happened in the next few hours, investigators would later describe as the worst crime Knoxville had ever seen. And the details were so graphic that during the trial, people in the courtroom passed out. Sunday morning, no calls, no texts. Channon's mother filed a missing persons report. The Newsom family did the same. At noon, a Norfolk Southern Railroad worker found a body near the tracks on the north side of Knoxville. Bound, shot 3 times, set on fire. It was Chris. Channon was still missing. Police had almost nothing. They found her Toyota 4Runner abandoned a few blocks away, actually located by Channon's own parents, who were driving the streets looking for any sign of their daughter. Inside the car, one envelope. They dusted it for prints, one fingerprint. That's all they had, and it was about to lead them somewhere they weren't prepared for. The print came back to Lamarcus Davidson, a convicted carjacker, recently out of prison. Investigators tracked him to a small rental house on Chipman Street. On January 9th, 3 days after the couple disappeared, they searched the house. They found Channon inside, stuffed into a garbage can. Her mother said it plainly later to producers. They stuffed her in a trash can like a piece of trash. The medical examiner's report was so detailed, so brutal, that the judge issued a formal warning before photographs were shown in court. Anyone who showed emotion would be removed immediately. Several people still couldn't hold it together. And here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. Davidson didn't act alone. There were 5 of them, and catching all 5 would take over a decade. Davidson was the ringleader. 4 others were charged alongside him: his brother Letelvis Cobbins, George Thomas, Vanessa Coleman, and a man named Eric Boyd. 4 of the 5 had prior felony convictions. 3 were arrested in Kentucky within days. Davidson was caught hiding in a vacant house in Knoxville 5 days after the murders. The evidence was overwhelming. DNA, witness testimony, physical items from the crime scene found on the suspects. Trials ran across 2008 and 2009. Davidson got the death penalty. Cobbins and Thomas each received life without parole. Coleman, the only woman, got 35 years. It looked like justice. It looked finished. It wasn't, because the judge who sent them all to prison had a secret, and when it came out, everything started to unravel. In 2011, Judge Richard Baumgartner resigned, not because of anything connected to the case, but because he had been illegally obtaining prescription painkillers, oxycodone, hydrocodone, Percocet, from a convicted felon he had sentenced in his own courtroom. He was essentially impaired during some of the most serious criminal proceedings in Knox County history. The result, retrials were ordered for multiple defendants. The families of Chris and Channon, who had already sat through years of hearings, had to return again and again. By one count, the Newsom family had appeared in a courtroom 283 times. And Eric Boyd, the 5th suspect, had still never been fully prosecuted for his role in the murders. That case dragged on until 2018. 11 years after the crime, he was finally convicted on 36 charges. 2 life sentences plus 90 years. 283 court appearances for one case. That's what justice looked like for these 2 families. The house on Chipman Street was demolished in 2008. A memorial was built in its place. Scholarships were set up in Chris and Channon's names. Laws in Tennessee were changed because of them. Chris was a carpenter who loved baseball. Channon was weeks away from graduating. They were targeted randomly. 2 people in the wrong place at the wrong time by people the system had already flagged and released. Their families still show up to every appeal, every parole hearing, because for them, it never stopped.